Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar today. My name is Lawrence. I'm with the Tripleseat support team here, and we are going to be discussing how to optimize your holiday menus using Tripleseat Direct. We're going to get started in just a few minutes here, and we do have a few members of our support team in chat, so feel free to ask questions as we go through our webinar, and we'll get started in just a second. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. And so the first thing we're going to do today is kind of walk through the guest experience, just submitting an order through Tripleseat Direct and what that looks like for your guest. Afterwards, we're going to look at what that looks like to receive an order on Tripleseat Direct and really have that optimized experience. And then finally, we'll look at the settings to really tune in your settings and your options to make the most use out of Tripleseat Direct for your holidays. This is not intended to be a full walkthrough of everything, all of your features and options for Tripleseat Direct. This is really kind of fine-tuned specifically for your holidays, but we will review settings and things like that that may be applicable for your general Tripleseat Direct orders and ones for your holidays. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in our chat and we'll be happy to help. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. You may be familiar with this screen already. This is kind of your standard Tripleseat Direct order screen. We did do kind of a custom Thanksgiving looking banner here up at the top because it's the holidays and we want to make sure that our menus look festive, our forms look festive. And so we've done a special one specific for that. You're always welcome to do that as a little addition to your forms. And so moving right along, the first thing we have here is our pickup notes. This would be a good place for our pickup orders. If someone else maybe is going to pick them up, we can give a description of the person. Maybe Billy is going to pick up the order. So our people will know who to look for to give the order to when they arrive. For our number of guests, we're going to put 5 guests. And then over here to our right, we've got the event date. We've kind of specialized this one. Again, this is one of those features that we want to look at for Tripleseat Direct holiday orders, where it's only allowing us to choose the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, those days closest to our Thanksgiving meal. And so I'm going to select the 21st as the option there. We'll talk about how we do that later. And then for our pickup time, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 o'clock p.m. Going to click next to move on. And now we get our options for our different menus. Here at the top are the different headers for the different menus that we can choose from. And since we have 5 guests for this Thanksgiving meal, we're going to go ahead and choose the holiday feast 4 to 6 people. If I click on that, that's going to go ahead and give me the options for this menu. We have our turkey. I'm going to go ahead and choose 2 sides, roasted potatoes, and maybe some stuffing. And then a walnut salad and dinner rolls. We have the option to add additional quantity. So if we wanted more than just one of these, maybe we have a second one that comes with ham and mac and cheese and green beans and a different salad, things like that. We can do that. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple and stick with just one and hit save. And that's going to push our selections over here to the right where we can make changes if necessary. Going to click on holiday desserts to see what options I have here. And let's add a cheesecake. And then maybe a pecan pie as well. And then finally, I can scroll down or again, click on starters to get the view for what options we have for our starters. And I'm going to say, let's add a cheese sampler. And the deviled eggs also look good, but since I really like deviled eggs, we're going to say 2 deviled eggs. And so again, our options are pushed over here to the side. We can see everything that we've selected so far, as well as our subtotal. This does not give our taxes and fees, but let's say that we wanted to make a change and maybe we only do want that 1 tray of deviled eggs. I can always hit the quantity button, hit save to update that. And then maybe we don't need the pecan pie. So we can hit the trash can button here to the right to remove the pecan pie. Once we've made sure that this is everything that we're going to get today, everything looks good, we're going to go ahead and hit next to move forward. And this is where we're going to get our guest details. So the nature of the event, this is just a family holiday gathering. I'll put in my name and I'll put in my email. The company is not required here, so I'm going to leave that blank, but I am going to put in a phone number. And the additional information is not required, so I'll skip that as well. I'll click I'm not a robot just to confirm through our CAPTCHA here. And then over here to the right, it gives us another look at our details, the event type, when, the details. Again, another look at our menu selections here, as well as the total. And then again, still not showing us the taxes and fees that is going to appear on our next screen here. So after I've reviewed this, we'll move forward and click Add Payment. And then it gives us this prompt that gives us our terms and conditions. There is a special section on our Tripleseat Direct forms that gives us our terms and conditions specifically for this form. So we'll be able to review those later and how you make changes to those, but your guest will not be able to move forward without accepting these terms and conditions. And you do get a time and date stamp once you accept these. So we're going to go ahead and click Accept. All right, and then this is where we would put in payment information. However, since this is a webinar specifically for this, we've kind of turned off that payment for this use case here, but it would be asking for the payment information, and you can set what those parameters are in your settings. And it gives us our payment summary over here on the right. And finally, it gives us the taxes and fees, the billing details that would apply for this form. We do have it set so that full payment is processed as soon as it is accepted by the user. And so we're going to go ahead and hit submit request because we're okay with all this. And then finally, our last screen here is just going to show us what this looks like, all the details and the confirmation that the order has been placed and the final grand total and everything here. So that's going to be your guest experience using Tripleseat Direct. That's what your guests will have the options for and what they'll be able to see while they're going through the ordering process. And so now we're going to switch over to what the experience looks like for your users. So we're going to switch back over here into Tripleseat. And so on our dashboard, if I just reload here, under our new Tripleseat Direct events, we'll see that I've got the family holiday gathering, the one that I just submitted. If we click on that, here are our details for this event. And so this is unique. Again, you're maybe familiar with this if you use Tripleseat Direct. This is the same, just like you would with everything else. We have a couple of different options up here at the top right that are unique to Tripleseat Direct. We can accept the event, we can reject it, and then we can also edit details. But before we do that, I want to go into our Docs tab here and just kind of check out what everything looks like here. We've got our Tripleseat Direct template with all of the different layouts that come with that. And again, a unique feature for Tripleseat Direct, we've got our menu selections tab that allows us to see what the guest has ordered, and we can make changes as well. So for instance, if I wanted to click edit here, we could change which entree. Maybe we're out of the turkey, so I can uncheck the turkey and select ham instead. I've corresponded with the guest, they're okay with that. And hit save to update that. And then maybe we are out of the cheese sampler. So I can hit the delete button there and to update that as well. I could also add additional items. So maybe they reached out and they wanted some other options. So if I wanted to add the pumpkin pie, we can add the pumpkin pie as well. Once we've confirmed all the details and made sure that everything looks good and that the guest is happy with the options that we can provide, we can hit accept to immediately accept the order. And again, hitting that accept order will immediately ask for that payment information. I'm going to go ahead and close that for now since we don't need payment for this. And that's what it's going to look like on the user side of things. Just very similar to what you'd expect with a typical, even just your core triple seat experience. The main difference here is going to be, again, your documents. We can go into the documents and look what those look like. We've got our menu selections tab. And again, this can't be changed here. This is what that tab is for on our event details page, but it does give all the information that we would see otherwise. And again, we have our terms and conditions down here at the bottom with that timestamp for when the guest approved and accepted the terms and conditions. And they are grayed out here because once the guest accepts them, we don't want to make changes to this because that's exactly what the guest was expecting. And that's what we want to move forward with. So we'll go ahead and hit update. And with that in mind, that's going to be, again, the biggest change is going to be your docs and then your menu selections tab. From here, we'll go ahead and take a look at our settings for Tripleseat Direct and really kind of tune in those settings and those options to optimize your Tripleseat Direct holidays. We're going to go to settings, and then we'll just start here on the configuration tab. So again, as I mentioned earlier, this is not intended to be a full breakdown of everything that Tripleseat Direct can do. So while I will review this page and some of the other pages that are relevant for your holidays, we do have a different webinar that you're welcome to dive into to get the full experience and all the options for Tripleseat Direct. Before I start going through the settings, I'm going to take a quick break to let any other questions about anything that we've done so far get those questions answered, and then we'll move forward from there. All right, we're going to dive right back in here. Okay, perfect. So we have a couple of different options here on the configure tab that we're going to look through here. All of this, for the most part, will apply to all of your Tripleseat Direct events and your forums and things like that. So just looking at what options we have here, we have our event duration limits that lets you configure the minimum and maximum event durations. Again, this one's not going to be specifically relevant. This and the lead time limits are not going to be specifically relevant for your holiday forms. There's a different setting that we're going to go over later that lets you choose specifically which days you want want your forms to be able to be submitted and be able to pick up your guests to be able to pick up your orders. So we're going to move on from here. Your billing details, this is where you set those taxes and fees. This is how those settings are going to be added to those orders. So you want to review this section, make sure that since we're doing pickup catering for this one, we'll go down to this section and we'll see that for our pickup catering, we have an admin fee, credit card processing fee, gratuity. Then we also have sales tax. So you can select your options here for which billing details need to be applied. Moving forward, I mentioned earlier that we did require full payment that is due upon acceptance. So this is where you would set that option. Again, for our pickup catering, we have that option turned on and it's 100%. We require all of it. And so you can set those options here. If, for instance, you turned that off and you didn't require all of it upon booking, you could change the percentage there. We'll turn that back on for now. And then we have blackout dates. Again, since this is only going to be for a couple of days, especially for your holidays, we're not going to need to do anything with blackout dates here. Moving back up to the top, we don't need to look at the hours or the rental fees here. So we're going to jump to the items. And our items, again, is how you're going to build what options your guest will be able to choose from on those forms. So I'm looking at some of our options here. For instance, we have our deviled eggs. We can make changes to what options, anything about the deviled eggs. Let's say we wanted to change the price. We can do that relatively easy here. We could even change the category if necessary, or add any other descriptions that we wanted here. Everything looks good for me here now, though. I just updated the price a little bit more. We'll click update. And then over here to the right, we have more options for how to get into that last menu we were just in. We can also duplicate any of these options. So if I wanted an additional option for deviled eggs, maybe there is a deviled eggs that has different seasoning on it. We could do that here. But again, I'm pretty okay with that. So we're going to move on to our packages. And so our packages are comprised of items. So let's look down at the option that we selected earlier, our holiday feast for 4 to 6 people for $250. Going to edit this holiday feast. We've got our pricing, all the information that our guests would need to make this selection on the details tab. And then we've got our item groups. And our item groups will determine what options within each one of those submenus. So when I was choosing the different options here, I had options for turkey, ham, and chicken. Maybe I didn't necessarily have tofu available as an option there, but I can make changes to that here. Again, we have our sides, our salads. I can add additional salads or breads, anything that I needed to do here. I can also add an entirely new item group. So if I wanted to add another option for our menus, we can do that here. We're going to go back and jump into our menus. And so on our menus page, we have the list of all the different menu options that our guests have. For instance, our holiday family menu, our holiday family meals. This will display the details on the details tab. But then if you look further into the items and packages, if you remember at the top of our page there, we had three different options for which holiday feast we could choose from. And we'd selected the holiday feast 4 to 6. And this holiday feast 4 to 6 is a package that is built off of, again, the items that we selected back on the items page and the packages page here. And so finally, we want to look at our Tripleseat Direct forms. Our forms are going to be the biggest part of what makes our holiday menu special and unique from the other menus. So we have our Millie Holiday 2023. If we come over here to the right and click Edit from the gear icon, it's going to take us into the settings for our Tripleseat Direct form. And there's a couple things that we want to review here. So first of all, I'm only choosing pickup catering for this because for this one, it's a Thanksgiving meal and I only want my guests to be able to come in and pick up the order and take it with them. We're not doing drop-off catering or any of the other event styles for this one, but I can change this to be something else. By default, it's going to say pickup catering, but I've changed it here to say Thanksgiving meal because I want it to look specifically like for that Thanksgiving meal. I've also selected the Millie's restaurant location for my venue. And then we'll come down here to our branding section. We have a lot of options here. We can choose our different banner. If you remember at the top, that banner that we had, that's how I selected that option here. We can go to our banner to make changes. We can choose a different font style, but I just kept it as the default here and choose different fonts and backgrounds and accents for that font. Moving down, we have which form fields are going to be required. If you remember, it did require a phone number and email address for contact information, things like that. Our form fields will dictate what is required. And then on this form, we do want to make sure that this is a holiday specific one. So instead of choosing all of the different options here, I only selected the holiday family meals, the holiday desserts, and the starters, those tabs along the top of the menu. And then we have which documents are going to be shared as soon as that order is submitted. So we can choose our event order, our invoice, or our agreement, and I can uncheck any of these if I don't want them to be shared with the guest. Here we have our form minimum. So for the order that we did as an example earlier, we had 5 guests, but if I only had 1 guest, for instance, it would have given me this error message and asked me to add more guests. So we have the option for how that appears for your guests. And then if we wanted a specific amount that has to be met in order for our guests to be able to submit that order, we have our different options that we have here. Since this form only has the pickup catering and I don't have a minimum, then there is no option that's selected for that pickup catering. We can also choose to skip our menu selections. Obviously, that's not going to be relevant for our Thanksgiving meal, but we do have that option. Moving forward, we can choose to have a gratuity selector enabled for this form. I don't for this one because I'm not accepting gratuity for the guest is just going to come in and pick up the order, so they don't have an option for gratuity. But if they did have an option, we can choose what that gratuity would say. And again, our options for how much gratuity, or if I wanted it to apply automatically, if I wanted it to have a custom amount, all of these options, but since I'm not having gratuity on this one, we're going to move forward. We have our page setup. So these are basically the different text options that are going to appear in the different places throughout your form. This first one for your header text, that's on that very first page. Thanks for placing your order. Whatever you want to say there, just to greet your guest and thank them for being a guest of yours. And then most importantly, in this section, we have our terms and conditions. So again, on our example, if you remember, before we were able to place payment information, there was the option to submit terms to accept or reject terms and conditions. Those are placed here, so you can make any changes. And again, this is unique for Tripleseat Direct. They'll always have the option to accept or reject the terms and conditions that you placed here. And after they've completed the form, we have our message that is displayed after completing the form. Whatever you want your guests to see after they've submitted the form, you have the option to put here. You can also have them go to a specific web page after completing the form. And our booking expiration hours determines how long it is if the order is not accepted or rejected, how many hours before it is automatically rejected. The next section that we want to look at here is going to be special availability. Special availability will determine which days and which times our guests are able to submit an order for Tripleseat Direct for our holiday menus. What we can do here is we can choose which day. So I've gotten selected the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And since that's a Tuesday through a Thursday, then I can come down here and look at my options for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as far as times that are available. And I only want them to come pick it up from 9 o'clock a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. But since Thursday is Thanksgiving itself, then I've adjusted so that they can only pick up from 9 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. so that my employees can get out early and be home with their families as well. I don't have any times available for Sunday or Monday because those days aren't available up here on the special availability calendar. So we just want to make sure that for our forms, enable custom availability is selected right here. Lead time and event duration are disabled anytime we have special availability or custom availability enabled. If you remember from the beginning back on our configure tab. And then we have our auto response email so that, as soon as they submit their order, they'll get an email with these contents. This will be the subject line and anything else that they might need to know. This is a great place to put details about when they'll hear back or anything special about this event that they need to receive via email. They'll get another email once the order has been accepted. And so you can put, again, the subject line and the specifics of their order being accepted. Same thing applies for when the order is rejected. You have a special email that will go to them if you reject the order. And then you have a reply to email address that if your guest replies to any of the previous emails, what email address it will go to is determined here. You can also include a link to the guest portal in any of those. And then finally, at the bottom of our form settings, we have notifications. These notifications will determine which Tripleseat users will be notified when one of these orders is submitted. We have a lot of users here, so I could select any of these and they'll be notified based on their notification settings, when there is an order submitted. And then I can also just have an email that receives that email notification as well. And so that concludes our webinar today. If you have any questions about this, again, we still have a couple minutes. You're welcome to throw your questions into the chat. You can also reach out to us at support@tripleseat.com. We're happy to answer your questions there, or you can find the help question button up here at the top right, and we'll be able to help you out through that as well. We hope you have a great holiday and have a good day. Bye-bye.